Introduction to drawing. What is the value of drawing? Well, it's huge. Drawing is the gateway to visual communication. And think of it like a language. You speak and write a language every day, right? Some of us in this room play musical instruments. That's a whole different language of communicating ideas and emotions and thoughts and really complex things from one person to another. Drawing, art, is just another language. And the more languages you have to talk to other people, the more enriched your life is. Many great things start out as simple drawings. This image up here, this is a place setting. This is a dirty, coffee ring stained placemat from a restaurant where the leaders of Pixar planned out some of their greatest movies, just with little sketches. Imagine if you were in that group and you couldn't draw, you couldn't convey ideas visually. You would have missed out on something truly amazing. That happens all the time. And there are much more pedestrian uses for drawing, but ultimately, visual fluency, it enhances life, it makes life better. But what about talent? I think we have a weird perception of what talent is in this day and age. And we have this strange perception that it's binary. Either you're born with it, it's some innate, God-given ability, or you don't have it and you can't do anything. And it's not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. Talent, I think, is really just dedicated, mindful effort. I think we all drew as children. Why did we stop? I think we stopped because at some point we developed the gap between our ability and our imagination. It's frustrating. When you don't have it as a child, you can draw anything. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It looks like it looks cool to you. But at some point, maybe your friends could draw better than you and you got discouraged, or maybe you just got frustrated with what you were producing and baseball is fun, I want to go do that instead. But what I'm trying to say is that gap, if it stops you from creative pursuit, you have to understand that it never goes away no matter what you do. Ira Glass actually did a really great little thing about talent and about the gap. It's a curse, it's a burden of creatives. You'll always feel like your work isn't good enough. But at the same time, it's a boon, because it's what makes you keep wanting to improve. It's what propels you to keep trying. So talent isn't magic, it's dedicated, mindful effort. Comparing yourself to others is a total waste of time. It's an easy trap to fall into, but if you're going to pursue art, you need to learn to stop doing it. And that's true of me as well. Like it's hard to do that. If I ever figure out how to stop comparing myself to others, I'll tell you. But you want to focus on the pursuit itself, not the destination. Art, like any pursuit, like learning an instrument or learning how to, I don't know, maybe code, maybe that's different, but learning a pursuit, it's about the actual practice itself, not the destination, not the end result. What is the pursuit of mastery? Drawing is a way of studying the world and the ideas in it. And what that means is every time you study something, you're going to come away with a different idea, right? You draw a tree or even that brick pillar right there. Every time you draw it, you're going to focus in on some new detail, some different detail, or even if it's the same detail, you're going to approach it in a different way. That's the practice of drawing. The more you practice drawing a subject, the more fluent you get at that subject, the more you understand that subject in a way that you can't understand it otherwise. Improvement comes with time and effort, as I said. And that's why routine, passionate, intentful practice is so important. So that's some of the touchy-feely stuff. Let's get into the actual, real stuff of art, right? I actually wanted to talk about a lot of this kind of stuff, but there just isn't enough time. You could spend an entire class in elements of art alone, but it's really important to go through it here. So we'll just briefly touch on it. Elements of art are like the key constituent parts of visual communication. At the very base, you have line. Line is just stroke or curve. between one point and another. It can be open, it can be closed. Typically when it's closed, it becomes a shape. A shape is area on a two-dimensional surface. That is, it can be polygonal, it can be geometric, it can be organic, it can be a square, a triangle, blob, it can be hollow, it can be solid. Color, we all pretty much know what color is, right? It's light reflecting off of something into your eye. But there are key terms in how to describe color. Hue is basically a specific color. If you hue shift a color, you change what color it is. If you shift, say, yellow warmer, you're hue shifting it to red. Tint shade, that's light and dark, which leads to value. So colors can have value. Value is basically just a way of describing the quality of lightness or the quality of darkness. And that can be black or white, or the darkness and lightness of a color. Saturation is the intensity of a color, by the way. There's actually an email about this a little while. But back to value real quick. Value is what describes form. Without value, nothing really has any consistency or volume. So form is a shape with value applied to it, right? That's what takes a triangle and makes it into a pyramid, or a circle into a sphere. You're giving it depth. You're giving it the illusion, or actually the reality of depth. All of these terms apply both to two-dimensional art, three-dimensional art, sculpture. It's just basic visual communication. More complex nuance of form would be texture. Texture is what describes the material that the form is made of. Does it have lots of little stippled dots all over it, little dimples? That would be like a golf ball texture, right? A lot of 3D artists they know all too well what a texture map is. But if you don't, it's really just a simple way of saying, like, is this furry? Is this smooth and soft and shiny? That's texture. The visual appearance of what this thing is made of. Space is where all of these elements come together. Space is similar to form, but it's more of the entire space of the piece. It's what conveys depth. It's what conveys literally space in a work of art, right? And it's all of the elements working together. Here you have shapes, you have values, you have color, all converging to create the illusion of an image. These are really just lines and shapes and weird abstract things, but to the human brain, it looks like a figure walking through an archway. Some other terms. Subject. Subject is whatever you are trying to capture with a pencil or pen, paint, media. Subject is what you're actually drawing. It can be rich over there. It can be this wall. It can be those buildings out there. Anything. It can be a character in your head. Medium is the substance you use to depict that subject matter. Medium or media in plural is pencil. It's paint. It's whatever you want it to be. Composition, there are a word cloud of the most commonly used words I've spoken at my time here at Pocket Gems. Composition would probably be the biggest friggin' word up there. I could spend an entire PG talking about composition alone, and I won't bore you with that. But it's basically the arrangement of the forms in your work of art. So whatever is contained in the page. If you're drawing Christine's face, where is Christine's face on the page? How do the lines of your depiction of Christine Doe's face, like, how do they actually guide your eye to a focal point? I'll talk more about that later, but I hope that gets the point across. Focal point is an integral part of composition. Focal point is where your eye is immediately drawn, where your eye comes back to. It's usually where there is the most detail in an image. That's the focal point. In a good composition, all of the big shapes, all of the big forms, all of the big lines, all draw your eye, they all lead your eye to your desired focal point. A really good artist uses the composition to make you look where he wants you to look. I can't emphasize this enough. It's literally the most important slide in this presentation. It seems really trite. This is one of the principles of design. And I actually really want to talk about those here, but I just don't have time to. But this one is like manna from heaven. When I figured this one out, the quality of my work skyrocketed. What is this? What are these two lines? This is a rhythm. This is a basic visual rhythm. And it's in everything. It's like the golden spiral. It's like Fibonacci sequence numbers. This is in everything in nature. And once you start to notice it, it's going to blow your mind. But what this means in terms of, what this means to you in terms of art, right, is you want to try to emphasize this rhythm in what you draw. And that's sometimes very easy, sometimes surprisingly difficult. You can draw an image fully intending to put this as many places as you can, to capture this where it shows up in real life, and then look at it when you're done and say, oh crap, why didn't that work? It's just time and practice, but you'll get it. Let's examine applications of rhythm, and so you don't think I'm a kook or a crackpot, like I can actually show you it's literally in everything. It's in the human arm. Look at how the deltoid curves down into the bicep. The bicep curves into the elbow. The elbow curves back into the wrist. And the wrist sweeps back around and leads you into the nice contour of the hand and the fingers. And it doesn't stop there. By the way, all these directional arrows, they go both ways. This is the flow of the piece, the energy of the piece. It's all moving along these contours. And it loops back in on itself in a really good image, in a really good drawing. Your eye never gets lost, and it never gets bored, and it never stops moving. And it's not just in drawings, it's in actual real life things. Look at this horse. This leg comes all the way up, over the back. And the energy, the curve of that back, just pours right down into the ribcage. The contour of the ribcage sweeps up into the chest. The curve inverts in the neck, swoops back down over the head. And look, even the snout leads you right back into the composition. You just keep swirling around with your eyes on this image. It's even in the human eye. The eyelids, they all have this energy. The human figure has this energy. It's in the big things and the little things. Let's talk about what happens when you don't have good rhythm. Whoever this artist is, I'm sorry. It's not that this is like a sample. I'm not going to rip this to pieces. I'm just going to objectively explain, like, why does this composition just not work so well? When you look at the biggest shapes in the piece, they don't interrelate. The energy, what happens to the energy? It just all goes to the same place and it just sort of pools in the chin and it just dies. Your eye tracks the contour and doesn't have anywhere else to go. And this happens all the time with beginning artists and experienced artists. It's hard. This is really, really hard, but once you start to get it, you will notice a huge step increase in the quality of your work.